Okay, so here we are, still in our location in northwest Tasmania. We've come upon an area. We're looking for potential thylacine hides, thylacine dens in some rocky outcrops, and we'll show some footage of that soon. But approaching this area, we've got this area of mud, and it's a good potential footprint trap. We've got 4 potential points of ingress that are game trails into this area. So if there were any top order predators in this area, you'd expect to see some form of tracks or footprints in this particular space. And as you can see, there's nothing of note in this area at the moment. So, but nonetheless, we'll go on and we'll have a look at the rocky outcrops just up ahead. So this is the rocky outcrop area, and you can see that it borders an area of open plains. There's water, there's plenty of evidence of prey species in this area. So we've come up here looking for potential signs, potential den sites for thylacines, and there's a few sort of small sort of overhangs and caves that a predator could actually hide itself in, particularly during the daylight hours, and then come out on the plain at sort of dusk and dawn looking for an easy meal. So here is actually quite a good site. So immediately to the camera's rear at the moment is that open plain area, so it's quite easy access to actually get into this spot. And you can see that it's dry. It's got good cover from the winds and the other elements, and you can actually see that to the rear of this area that there is some large scat to the rear of this. So some animals have been following this home. So we might spend a little time. We might get a small hobbit-like creature to actually explore this cave. Obviously, I'm far too large and smart to actually explore further. So this is where Chris will probably have to take over with this part of the exploration.
So the call was for a hobbit-sized animal to try and explore this. So in a go, I'll GoPro it so that you can see it from my point of view. This won't be my best angle. Actually quite dry all the way back. Turns corner to the left up here. First thing I've noticed just as I've come in is a whole bunch of wombat scats. So these are particularly fresh. They've been here for a few days, but big carnivore needs big prey. This is a perfect site for it. I'll just try and go a little bit deeper and see what I can find. Holy what was that? Yeah. We'll have to go around the other side, but there's actually, if I can come in through the other hole and head straight up, there's a perfect little den site. Might be able to see further up in here. Beautiful little den site, huge amount of wombat scat, and then it goes in underneath this scree boulder. So probably perfect little den site.
So I've got a contour action cam on my head, so that one of the reasons that we've done that, and Chris has got the GoPro Hero Silver on his head, is because there are a number of thylacine sightings where people have claimed, and we generally believe them, where they have cameras, but the sighting is over before they can reach for the cameras. So wherever possible, when we're in Thylacine territory, we have cameras attached to our heads, so wherever we look, we're actually taking footage of that. So that greatly increases the probability that if there is a thylacine out there and it does cross our path, that we'll actually get video evidence of it. This area on the far side of the actual rocks and on the other side of the plain is out of the exposure to the wind, and you can see that there is a lot more potential den sites under here. So we'll go down and have a look at that space. Hopefully, if there is any den sites down there, then they are quite constricted. So that'll mean that Chris has to explore them rather than me. So we've just climbed to a higher vantage point, and we've come to an area that has got a lot of sort of moss on it, with the underlying of sort of mud and water. So again, a potential footprint trap. So we're just investigating it closely, because it would be quite a good area for a carnivore to come and survey the area below to see what potential prey are around. There is evidence in terms of scat, in terms of both paddymmelon and Bennett's wallabies in the area that are easy to see as we look around. So we're going to have a closer look to see whether there's any other unusual footprints. So just down here I can see that there's a shard of bone, and that has looks like it's been broken off, and it's fairly recent because you can actually still see the marrow inside the bone. So that be interesting to actually see where that actually come from, whether it's part of a jaw maybe, or a leg bone. It's really hard to tell, but it is quite fresh, because you can see wet marrow still inside. So there is some sort of scat around here, so it's quite white and clean. It might be worthwhile having a look to see whether you can see any other remnants of whatever this animal was in this area. So one of the things that we're just sort of discussing as we move through this area, and you can see that the snow is starting to roll in again, is that you'd have to think that the average sort of thylacine would make about 1,000 footprints a day, and with a minimum sustainable population of say around about 200, as quoted in texts like The Magnificent Survivor, that's about 200,000 new thylacine footprints every day. And if a footprint was to last sort of 2 to 3 days in sort of optimum conditions, that's sort of up to 600,000 footprints that are out there that could be found at any one time. So again, it sort of leads to the probability that there aren't any thylacines out there, because there's only 1 or 2 alleged footprints that are found sort of every couple of months. So one of the things that we can see here is, you'd think that this would be reasonable type of area to find prints. So you can see that we've got some wet area here that obviously isn't going to hold a print for very long, but on the verges here there's some more sort of solid ground that would take a print, even if it is distorted. But you can also sort of clearly see that there is a fair amount of scat here, but yet there is almost a total absence of footprints in this area. So again, it sort of almost belies the statement about the fact that there should be thousands of footprints out there to find, when clearly there are paddymmelons in this area, but we don't see an abundance of paddymmelon prints. So you can see where we've got some scat here on the ground. It's sort of a light beigey, tanny sort of colour. It's quite moist, so it looks that it's quite fresh. So we've obviously got a brush-tail possum in this area. Again, a fairly major prey species for a thylacine, and we've come probably another 100 metres further back from the plain, and we've found another fairly significant outcrop of rocks that looks like it's quite high in potential for dens. So we've got potential prey species in abundance and places for thylacines to hold up at night. So again, we've got a bit of an A-frame structure that's been formed by obviously the rock some time ago, potentially thousands of years ago, slid down the side here and created a bit of an A-frame shape, which has created a really good sort of den space for an animal. And I can see, just looking into it, that it's got some scat at the entrance, offers protection from the wind and the elements, and probably from the snow that you can see falling as I speak. So as I go a little bit closer, you can see that you can actually get quite a large animal in that space, and it's got a exit from the other end, so it's got a potential bolt hole. There's actually some feathers in the bottom of here as well, so potentially something like a devil has dragged a bird or a carcass of a bird in there, because there are quite a few feathers that in the bottom of this particular hide location. So I've just reached into this little hide space, and you can see that there's probably about 20 or 30 of these feathers in there. So and some of them look as if they've been chewed on and broken. So just reach down and grab some more.
Just pass me a feather, was. I'd have to say, at a guess, it's like currawong or something like that.
Magpie.
Probably too higher altitude
for magpie. Yep.
It's classic currawong sort of area of Tasmania.
Yep. And where they nest usually in trees, do they?
They do. So that, as you said, that's probably been grabbed by a predator and dragged in.
Yep. So yeah, so there's quite a few. So it's not just one or two that's been left by a passing bird. So it's obviously been taken in there and eaten. And I can't see any other sort of remnants. So given the fact that devils tend to eat everything, probably suggests that it was a devil that took it. So one of the things that, as Chris and I push further back from the open plains area into this area where there's lots of rocks, lots of overhangs, you could absolutely confidently say that in the last 200 years that there would have been, a thylacine making this place his home or her home at some time in the past. So I guess the challenge now is to see is there one still in this area? Most likely not, but we'll look for evidence of it anyway.